Welcome to the Smith & Bug Forge. So, today we are making shish kebab skewers. So we'll start by getting some charcoal into the forge. This charcoal I made myself and works pretty good. A whole lot cheaper to do it this way than it is to buy the bag stuff. So if you got some space that you can have a fire, you too can make your own charcoal. We'll get a video up about that before too long. But lights up pretty well, so we'll get it lit, get it hot, put some metal in there. Real simple. So, what we're using for material today is 3/16 square rod. I've got 36-inch piece here, so I'm going to mark it at 18 inches, cut it in half. We want each of our skewers to end up with about 16 inches of overall length and a little more than 12 inches of usable space to put your meat on. So 18 inches usually seems to be about right. So we're gonna cut this in half here at 18 inches, and you're gonna see me mark this a couple of times, go a little deeper, and then I'm gonna actually go off camera and just break it. I don't want to try and cut all the way through and risk hitting my anvil. So we now cut it in an 18-inch piece, and we're gonna measure back from the factory end, not the cut end, the factory end. We're gonna measure back 3 inches, and we're gonna make a mark there at 3 inches. That's gonna be our bend point. So we want to mark it now before we start forging the steel, so that we have an accurate measurement. So we'll go ahead and put the factory end in that we just marked. We're going to put that tip in there, and we're going to get that heated up so that we can start with our first bit is going to be right at the tip. We're going to forge down the end flat, as you'll see here in a minute, and we're going to get our first curl going, and that's going to be for our finger guard area at the end of the handle. So pulling it out now, and here we go. We're going to start flattening that tip. We want to make sure that our mark that we cut in is facing up. If we keep that orientation, then we can stay consistent, so that later when we bend it, that mark is going to go down. So I flattened the end, and now I'm just curling it around on the horn here a bit. And that's about what we want. Something like that. Now flattening it helps to widen it a little bit as well. And there's that mark you can see there. Remember, keep your mark on the top. If all your pieces are measured back 3 inches and marked on the top, you can stay consistent. The reason why we use the factory end is because the cut end is going to become our taper, which we'll probably take to the grinder later, so we can just grind off that cut end. Alright, so the next step is going to be to bend it. We're going to put that marked side down, cooled off the tip so we don't hit that and bend that out of shape. Go to just a little shy of 90, then bring her over to the horn, and you can finish your curl around the horn. Of course, it gets a little fiddly when you're trying to do these small curls right out at the edge of the horn, but you mess around with it, you'll get it where she needs to be. So just keep tinkering around until you get to the ultimate shape that you want. Something like that. So next step's going to be to work on the other end, the tip. So we're going to cool off the handle so that we can hold that side. We'll put her back on the fire and get the tip heated up. Now remember, the tip side is the cut side. We do it that way so that our finger guard has a nice finish to it. The tip side we're taking the grinder. So we're going to put a square taper. We're just going left, right, left, right. This is like a military style forging, I guess, huh? Just keep working her down to about a 1/16 of an inch or so at the tip, and that'll give you a point that's sharp enough to go through some meat and some veggies, but not the meat on your hand, hopefully. And then you work that taper back a little ways. Now this steel is pretty thin, pretty small stock, so it will cool rather rapidly, but since we're not bending, twisting, or anything like that here at the very tip, we can forge this a little cold and it's okay. Right now we're just kind of straightening things out, doing a little planishing, but our tip is mainly formed. The rest of it we can refine at the grinder if we need to. Try and get it as close as possible, because the more time you can spend here is going to save you a lot of time at the grinder. But that's pretty good. And I know this camera doesn't want to focus, so sorry about that, but you get the idea. With the tip formed, the handle formed, now all we gotta do is put a twist in it. Because this is mild steel and it's thin stock, and it's already been heated, I can actually twist this cold. Makes it a little easier to work with in the hands, but it doesn't twist quite as easily as when it's hot. That's alright though, you just go slow and take your time. Don't try to rush it or over twist it. I'm going to put in one decorative twist right underneath the handle, going clockwise. I'm going to go one full turn. And the main thing here is to make sure that your facets line up when you're done with the twist. And sometimes that means you gotta fiddle around getting it just right, but not too hard. In case you're wondering, that is a spud wrench that's sitting in my pritchel hole. I don't have a vise set up here in this location right now, and did a video about twisting steel that way. It's on the channel here. So if you want to see that, you can check it out. It works all right. Now this steel isn't wanting to twist evenly. It's mostly twisting right at the end there. So I'm going to move the wrench up the steel a little ways to get that twist going further back. Keep things even. It must not have gotten an even heat when it was in the fire. But as with everything, keep saying it. Tinker, fiddle, and you'll get it. By the way, I didn't mention we are going counterclockwise here, so opposite direction from the other twist that we did, the decorative twist right under the handle. The twists are important to keep the meat in place when you turn your skewer on the barbecue. You know, those little round things, especially those little wooden ones, you turn the skewer and the meat just stays in the same place. So the twists help to make that meat turn as well when you flip that skewer. They also look nice. Alright, now that we've got our twists pretty even, we're just going to line up our facets here, make sure that everything looks good. Once it does, then we're about done. The next thing to do is straighten it. Because this stock is pretty thin and it's mild steel, we can mostly do this by hand. This one's pretty good. It's not too bent out of shape in the first place. If it was pretty wild and you can't do it with your hands, you can always grab a soft mallet or wood mallet or just even a 2x4 and bang on it and get her straightened out. You just don't want to use your hard hammer because you'll mess up those twists. So with all the forging done, only thing left to do is take it to the wire wheel grinder and put some seasoning on it. So here I am at the grinder, grinding the tip, and you'll see that this only takes a few seconds because we did a good job of forging that tip out. There's not much grinding to do. Just taking off of that cut edge and putting a little bevel around the point. Now, I know this camera sucks and it won't focus, so sorry about that, but hopefully you can get the idea. Now we'll just take it to the wire wheel. This doesn't take long, about a few minutes each. And mainly you're just trying to get the scale knocked off of there. Nobody wants steel scale in their food. So we'll get the scale off of there. Also you want to get off any kind of factory oils and anything like that that might be on the steel still. Should be all burned off from the forge. Heat the oven to about 500, and then I'm going to put some canola oil on here. I keep some canola oil and a rag in a cup for doing these. And if you've ever seasoned cast iron, you might know that while you want to get it oiled up, you don't want a lot of oil on there. You don't want it dripping because that oil will cake and will create bubbles that'll break. So get it on and then get it off. Put it in the oven for about 4 or 5 hours. Give it another coat. You might have to do 3 or 4 coats, but what you'll end up with is something like this. So these are another set that I had already done, and you can see the twist pattern's a little different on these, but they get a nice black finish on them. They're very anti-stick because of all that oil, and they work just like a cast iron. So you want to treat them like a cast iron. But yeah. Anyways, so I thank you for watching. Hopefully you found this video interesting, maybe even helpful, or maybe you think that you could tell me how I could do it better. Either way, if you want, comment, like, subscribe, you know the deal. Thank you much.